One creature in the Star Wars galaxy frightened the Jedi and the Sith for the same reason, and that reason was not size or raw strength. Its name was the terentatek, and it killed through silence. It was invisible to the Force. A Jedi stepping into a Korriban cave would have their training, the Force, and every tool the Order gave them, but none of it would register the creature already crossing the floor towards them. Telekinesis lands and does nothing. A Jedi who tries to redirect the creature's aggression, calm its mind, or push it aside through the Force gets nothing back. The Jedi Academy training manual records that the creature's body carries a remarkable immunity to the Force, which earned it the nickname Jedi Killer across the Order's archives. Yet the bright snap and unmistakable hum of an activated lightsaber reach it perfectly, with both the light and the sound drawing it forward. Codex material from Star Wars: The Old Republic describes terentateks as legendary, deadly beasts armed with venomous tusks and claws. So once the saber has their attention, the Jedi has a blade and nothing else. The Jedi is also rarely facing one creature, since the training manual notes that terentateks patrol their territory in mated pairs, which means a Jedi expecting one opponent was already outnumbered before crossing the threshold. A Rancor or a Krayt Dragon can kill a Jedi, but they attack whatever is closest. They do not distinguish a Force user from a soldier. The terentatek does, and it was designed to. The terentatek outlived the alchemists who bred it, and neither the Jedi nor the Sith could leash it again. The terentatek is older than the Great Sith War, and Exar Kun older than the Sith Order itself. Beneath the surface of Korriban, in a sanctum sealed for more than 10,000 years, the body of a terentatek lay preserved in the dark. Sorzus Syn recorded the find in Book of Sith, Secrets from the Dark Side. She was one of 12 Dark Jedi cast out of the early Jedi Order, and a founder of what would become the Sith Empire. She walked into that sanctum with slaves and torches, and came out with scrolls of Sith alchemy and a corpse that should not have already existed. The terentatek was not an accident, it was made. Her chronicle identifies the creators as the Kasai, the priestly alchemy caste of the original Sith species, who bred war beasts the way other cultures bred war horses, except their stock was shaped by ritual and dark side energy rather than patient mating. Later Jedi records would theorize a base species, suggesting Rancors twisted by Sith experimentation into something the original animal could no longer recognize. According to Sorzus, the creature feeds on Force-rich blood and hunts Sith purebloods exclusively, the very species the alchemists who built it came from. They designed a predator to crave the blood of their own species, knew the retaliation would be certain, and bred it anyway. The Sith built a precision instrument and got something cruder. Other alchemical creations, like the Battle Hydra, remain controllable by Force-sensitive Darksiders, serving as shock troops that march where their masters pointed. Sith alchemy could produce a leash, yet the terentatek was the creation that broke it. Once the Kasai were dust and the rituals were lost, the terentatek was not a connoisseur. It did not favor Jedi or other Force users over other prey. It neither honored Sith hierarchy nor hesitated because the thing in front of it bowed to the dark side. The only Force-related stimulus it reliably tracked was the light and sound of an activated lightsaber. By the time of the Great Sith War, the terentatek's wander Korriban, Kashyyyk, and a dozen other worlds the dark side has touched. In the aftermath of Exar Kun's defeat, when the Jedi Council looks at the map of the galaxy and tries to count the creatures still moving in the ruins, they realize the war did not end when Kun fell. These are not lurking creatures, since Legends records from the Old Republic era describe terentatek's destroying Jedi outposts in this period, killing trained Force users in the field rather than waiting to be hunted. The Council is responding to attacks, not rumors, and the first hunters it sends are the Jedi Shadows. The Shadows are the Order's specialists, sent into Darkside ruins and holocron caches wherever the Force had gone sour. They went into terentatek lairs and kill what they found, but the losses mounted faster than the kills. The Council escalated, taking the Shadow Specialist project and handing it to the wider Order. During the Restoration period, between 3995 and 3966 BBY, the Jedi wiped out the Macroza Order from the Tapani sector, and the Great Hunt turned the Order into a kill team. What began with the Jedi Shadows eventually expanded into a crusade undertaken by much of the galaxy, with the sole purpose of wiping terentateks and other Sith spawn from the galaxy. The Council authorized hunting expeditions into the catacombs of the Valley of the Sith Lords with a single objective: codified a new sentinel technique called Master of the Great Hunt to make its people sharper and more precise against beasts touched by the dark side, and sent them in bonded pairs because inside a terentatek's lair, the dark side was thick enough to suffocate a single mind. One trio did not survive, and the Council lost all three before the hunt was over. His name was Duron Qel-Droma. He was a cousin of Ulic, the fallen Jedi Knight whose betrayal during the Great Sith War had made the Qel-Droma name a synonym for betrayal. Duron, younger and less famous, carrying that name into rooms where it was no longer welcome, volunteered for the Great Hunt. He destroyed Sith remnants in the cleansing of the Nine Houses and went after the nightmare creations the alchemists had left behind, including Cylon, giant worms, and terentatek's. He was paired with a Twi'lek named Shaela Nuur and a third Jedi named Guun Han Saresh. Somewhere along the hunt, Shaela and Duron fell in love, and Guun, feeling the bond between them shift into something that would not hold under pressure, warned them and argued with them, and when neither worked, left. He went to Kashyyyk alone, down into the Shadowlands where the dark side ran as thick as it did on Korriban, and died there, overwhelmed without a partner, in exactly the conditions the Council had paired him to avoid. Duron died next on Korriban. Shaela went back into the lair alone, and the records say only that she was overcome. The trio the Council had bound together to survive the hunt was gone, and the terentatek's were not. Duron and Shaela were not the only pair the hunt consumed. The effort was ultimately futile. The hunters did not lack skill. The dark side saturating the lair eroded discipline and coordination long before the creature moved, and by the time it did, the Jedi who walked in together were no longer working as a unit. They died alone or fractured. The failure of the Great Hunt proved the warning had been right all along. The warning came from the woman who founded Sith bio-alchemy, directed at her own successors, about a creature she understood better than anyone alive, and what she told them was that it could not be kept safely. Many of these creatures still existed centuries and millennia afterward. They never reached extinction because the creatures retreated into dark side strongholds and went still, not in the animal sense of hibernation, but in a dark side suspension that kept their bodies alive without food, water, or warmth. When the dark side weakens across the galaxy, terentatek slip into a slumber that can last for hundreds or even thousands of years, and when the dark side rises again, they emerge to threaten everything around them. The Jedi tried extermination, and it did not work. The dark side produced the terentatek, not biology, so killing one was never final, while the dark side could still rise. Korriban's tombs almost certainly still hold at least one. The chamber would be sealed, the air stale, and the stone floor cold enough that nothing living should be inside it. The terentatek would have no memory of the Great Hunt and no knowledge of Duron, Shaela, or Guun. It would have been asleep for longer than most governments last, drawing on the dark side to keep its body alive in the dark. No Jedi alive today would have a reason to remember it was there, and a terentatek can at last being forgotten. The terentatek is one rung on a much larger ladder, a full hierarchy of Force-strong beings that runs from the practitioners at the bottom to the figures the dark side itself answers to. For the older end of the trail, the path back through Sorzus Syn and the Kasai leads to the very first Force users in galactic memory, complete arc of that earliest era, through the schism that produced the founders of the Sith Empire.